And we are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast, to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Milwaukee Bucks, I want to remind you guys of a few things. If you are new to the channel and newly tuning into our podcast, and you happen to some reason like our content, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Enjoy the ride that is Revved Up 906. We really enjoy bringing you guys content. And you know what? We kind of feel like we're A-okay at it. So if you do like our content, hit that subscribe button. Also, Grind Clothing Co., as some of you know, is our official merch sponsor. So you can click the link in our YouTube bio or in the description below, and that link will shoot you right to Grind Clothing Co.'s website, where you can check out a plethora of design options on sweatshirts, polos, hoodies, quarter zips, all crew necks, all of the above. Any merch you could ever think of, Revved Up 906 got it, and it's all because of Grind Clothing Co. So a huge shout out to Grind Clothing Co. They also have a bunch of different designs because they have merch drops almost every month and all kinds of designs for every person's eyewear or whatever they might want. Something will catch your eye on Grind Clothing Co.'s website. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Tonight's final score was 122-113. And really what solidified this win for the Milwaukee Bucks was a 15-4 run in the final minutes of this fourth quarter. Ryan, when talking about this Milwaukee Bucks loss, what are some of the biggest factors? Is it that run in the fourth quarter? Is it Giannis Antetokounmpo? Because the Pistons were competitive all the way up into the last 4 minutes of the game. Ryan, what was the biggest thing why the Pistons lost tonight?
Well, for one, we just went up against the second highest scoring team in the league. The Pacers are first, and then the Bucks are right behind them, averaging out to 124 points a game at 122 tonight. So they pretty much were at their average. When you're playing up against a team as dominant on offense as a team in the Bucks that have Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, etc., it's tough to contain everyone. The other night when we played them, Damian Lillard went off for 45. Today it was Giannis's show, and Chris Middleton all of a sudden shows up. Dame doesn't have a great game, but what I think this comes down to, outside of the containing everyone and going up against one of the highest scoring teams in the league, is our rebounding in the final 2-ish minutes left of the game was atrocious. We could not get a rebound to save our lives. And that allowed Brooklyn to get probably a dozen offensive rebounds in that stretch, which resulted in more layups and points in their favor, which extended the run time after time. And then we'd go up, brick a shot, they'd come back down, and they'd score again. What I really think it comes down to rebounding as the reason why we lose this game, at least in the final stretch there, because they were on a 17-2 run with the last 2 minutes to go. And a big key in that is their offensive rebounding ability, whereas we were just lost out there. It was just disappointing from that perspective in the final 2 minutes to be that close all the way through the game, and then all of a sudden just a snap of the finger and you lose the game. It's so hard to contain one of the higher scoring teams in the league, especially when you have a three-headed monster there. But then on top of that, our rebounding just wasn't there. Even with Stewart out there, even with Dern out there, we just couldn't get the job done on the glass. And I think that's one of the big reasons why we lose this game tonight.
Yeah, and this loss kind of stings a little bit extra because of dropping 2 games in a row to the Milwaukee Bucks. But the thing is, with these last 2 games, with our bouts against the Bucks, is we have competed through the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter is just kind of where we start fizzling out. And like you said, we start falling short in the rebounds. Our shots stop falling around the mid-range game. And it's just hard to lose these games when you know that the Pistons are competing, they're clicking on all cylinders, they're passing the ball, they're doing all the right things defensively, except fouling. But overall, they're having a great effort, and it just doesn't turn into W's in the win column, which is frustrating. But a positive I want to talk about from tonight's matchup is we saw Isaiah Stewart return from his injury, and he came out ready to go. You could tell that he was ready to play some b-ball again, and he finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 of 9 shooting, 2 of 6 from the three-point line, which isn't the most efficient. That's not where we really want him at, but we're not too worried about that. But the big thing with Isaiah Stewart is we were missing him. We needed him out on the court. It showed defensively, and it was great to have him back, and he came back in a big way, Ryan.
Yeah, Isaiah Stewart had a great game off the bench for us. Yeah, I can't applaud him enough for it because he was one of. I made the comment last time we played the Bucks out there. We were missing Isaiah Stewart, and all of a sudden comes back tonight, has a great showing, and you could see why we missed him because he had that impact right away, early on to start the game, and then all the way through until the end. And it's great to see 19 points from him off the bench because it's one thing for him to get 19 as a starter because he has more minutes and such. But tonight, 28 minutes, granted, that's probably his average. Out to be close nearby on the season so far in terms of starting. But still, 28 minutes off the bench, usually up against guys in the second units for the Bucks, second, third units there. And so the fact that you're getting 19 minutes against Giannis, against Brook Lopez, but then Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis, and then even Andre Jackson Jr. at times, it's impressive to see not only that he can go out there on any given night as a starter and get you 19, but then also come off the bench and still give you that same production. I was very pleased with his play tonight.
We also saw Jalen Duren do what he does best, getting double doubles, 12 points, 12 rebounds. Not the most efficient night from the field, 5 of 14 from the field. Ryan, do you think that is just speaks more to Brook Lopez and Giannis in the paint, or did you just think he was a little off shooting? What do you think was the biggest cause for his inefficient shooting?
Well, there were a couple shots that just weren't falling. And that was happening with everybody. You saw the situation where Asar went up with the putback layup, and then it goes around the rim and then falls out when that should have been made. There's been a couple instances where you had Sasser throw up a floater, it bounces in and out. I just think shots weren't necessarily falling the Pistons' way tonight. On top of that, but I really think what it comes down to, and the way that Duren has been playing against the Bucks, and it really only happens against the Bucks as of lately, because everyone else he's been dominant in the efficiency category. But when you're going up against Brook Lopez, who credit to him, he's a great scorer, as still leads the Brooklyn Nets on averages for points per game at 18. The fact that he still leads in that category for the Nets is impressive, granted, because he hasn't been there in a couple 10 or so years now. But the point to be said there is it's one thing for Duren to struggle offensively. It's another thing for him to struggle defensively too. And it's hard to contain Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez had the 15 points tonight, and then the 3 assists offensively, and he only missed 3 shots. Like, that's pretty darn good for Brook Lopez. But defensively, Brook Lopez is probably one of the more underrated big men in the league in terms of defense quality. He is up there. He knows how to break you down. He's been in the league for a hot second, so obviously he's played as far as like young Dwight Howard all the way up to Jalen Duren. And I say that because that's a comparison that's always made, is that Jalen Duren is a mini Dwight Howard. And Brook Lopez knows how to attack these guys because he's been in the league for a while now. He's a vetted player. So for Brook Lopez, not only on a normal basis is he a great defender, but I really think he just has that experience to know how to contain a Jalen Duren, who Jalen Duren doesn't normally take a jump shot. He normally focuses in on the paint. He really rarely ever shoots a three-pointer. if he does ever. And so it's easy to contain Duren just because he's just known for being in the paint. That's it in terms of scoring the ball. So I
Mhm.
think what needs to happen in that situation is that Duren stretches out his game a little bit. Start taking some jump shots. Start taking, I mean, I'm not saying to start taking threes, but like contemplate it at times because
Mhm.
I think he has a great jump shot. He can hit those shots. If you were to just take one or two a couple games, then you'd have like Brook Lopez and all these players starting to defend him closer, and then that opens
Right.
up the paint. And then if later on in the game you hit him in the paint, there or he's up at the wing, at the elbow of the paint, and he fakes the shot, takes the ball down to the court on dribble, goes up for a layup. I think that works too. I just think the ball, it just the shot wasn't falling in for him tonight, and then the great defense out of Brook Lopez, and then don't forget Giannis. Giannis is the Greek freak for a reason, but I think the great overall defense out of Brook Lopez is what contained Duren tonight.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks have a strong paint presence with their two vets in Giannis and Brook Lopez. It's hard to get buckets, and you know what? At least Jalen Duren got his 12. Somebody that showed up for the Pistons offense in a big way was young Marcus Sasser, getting 23 points in 26 minutes and 9 of 17 from the field. And you know what? I hope this is a wake-up call for Monty Williams because I have been hoping, praying that Marcus Sasser gets more minutes because I think this kid is legit. I think he's got all the moves in the playbook. And I think that he has shown me in the last 10 games that he actually can facilitate a little bit on offensive side because I was a little bit worried about that. I'm like, okay, we know he can shoot. We know he can get his shot off the dribble. He can catch and shoot. But I'm like, can he pass and facilitate? And we saw him get 3 assists in 26 minutes. It's nothing to blink at, but it's also a positive because this young rookie is showing that he can do it any way you want it. And he's going to be a great backup point guard for the Detroit Pistons. With this great play tonight from Marcus Sasser against a solid Milwaukee Bucks team, do you think this is kind of shining some possible more playing time in this next 5 to 10 games? You think this is winning Monty Williams over, or where do you think their head is at as far as addressing Marcus Sasser's playing time?
What I think it is from the get-go, from the start to now, is that they're going to slowly increase his minutes as time goes on, but he also needs to show up in practice too. It can't just be on game days he shows up in his limited minutes and then practice he's non-existent. You have to be consistent in terms of your quality and production on a daily basis, day in, night out. And so far, we've been seeing that out of him because the last couple of games, he's been out to 9, 12 minutes a game, and he's slowly getting those minutes increase. Tonight, he had the 26 minutes, but he has that production in terms of 26 minutes because of the fact of how much he did offensively for us. He gave us the 23 points, but not only the 23 points, the 3 assists, and then he also had a rebound. He was clogging the lanes defensively. He was just everywhere tonight. And I've said this numerous times, you've said this numerous times, but the last 10 or 12 games or so, Marcus Sasser is starting to step up in big ways in opportune moments. And this is like the cherry on top of the cake. He just nailed it tonight if he's wanting to get more minutes because Monty Williams could have subbed him out at any point in time tonight and didn't. He kept him in the game because of how well he was facilitating the ball, how well he was clogging the lanes defensively, and then how well he was shooting the ball. The Bucks, every time we've played them, has not been able to stop Marcus Sasser. And I don't know why it's just the Bucks, but there's been other situations with other teams where Sasser has a good night scoring the ball too. But it just seems like the Bucks every single time cannot guard Marcus Sasser. And it's always fun to watch because you have a mismatch where you have Bobby Portis or you have Brook Lopez outguarding Sasser, and you know what's going to happen. Sasser's going to break their ankles, hit the jump shot, or blow by them and have a crazy layup. But Sasser, in terms of having an impactful game, in terms of getting more playing time, was absolutely tonight because, again, Monty could have subbed him out at any point in time, but didn't.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Pistons fans and us were kind of expecting a breakout game like this of 23 points because it seemed like the last 5 games he was really searching for a shot and his minutes were slowly starting to extend. And I don't think this is what he's going to average of 26 minutes. I think it just happened to where Monty was like, okay, he's rolling. Let's keep him in. Um, but I think he was due for a big game. I mean, he just can't help but search for his own shots. I mean, he's just a beast. Something we have to note when talking about tonight's matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks is we did not see James Wiseman put up any minutes. He put up a goose egg in the minutes category. And I think, you know what? I think it has a big deal, a big due to Isaiah Stewart's return. And then also Danilo Gallinari is playing very, very solid for us off the bench right now. Gallinari gave us 9 minutes, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 of 4 from the field. So he's pretty much doing everything for the Pistons right now. And you know what? For being 35 years old, dude, he's looking pretty sharp. He looks like he's not quite Bojan, obviously, but he really shows a lot of shines of Bojan-esque. He's just Bojan, but 6'10, and just not quite there just because of age. I really like Gallinari and the way he's playing right now. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on these first couple of games of Gallinari and more in tune to this game?
So this is me going back to even last year to this season with the Wizards. He hasn't skipped a beat. He's the same player that he's always been. He's just more experienced. And yeah, he old age slows you down a little bit, but he really isn't even that old. 35 is still pretty young in comparison to, and I know I threw this out as a reference the other day in terms of age, LeBron James, but 35 is not really that old in the league.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends what position you play. But Gallinari has not skipped a beat in his overall play. He still can shoot the ball lights out. He's still as sharp in terms of passing the ball and facilitating as he ever has been. He can get you boards when needed, rebound. He's just one of those smart players that he doesn't need a lot of playing time to be successful. And
Right.
everywhere he's been in his career, from the Knicks to the Nuggets to the Clippers to the Wizards, in the Celtics in between them, and then to now with us, no matter how much playing time he gets, he always succeeds. You had him earlier on this season before the trade coming up against us, and like 10 minutes off the bench has 16 points against us. Like that is efficient play in 10 minutes. And he's
Yeah.
35 years old, and everybody's dogging on him because he's 35 years old and he's ancient, right? He's not ancient. He's playing great basketball at his age, and his impact, even though he only gives us 9 points, he doesn't need to give us 20 points. And what he's giving us thus far has been
Mhm.
perfectly fine, and I'm
Yeah.
extremely happy with it. And then I have to mention Mike Muscala too. Muscala has been amazing for us. I absolutely love him. In his minutes he's given us outside of Gallinari, he is just, it doesn't matter what he does, he helps us get better as a team. There's situations tonight where he had multiple tip outs off of rebounds, and that helped us keep the rhythm going, get good looks up, get good shots
Mhm.
falling. And yeah, the last couple nights he had 16 recently. Then before he had what, 9 points. Today he only had the 3 points. He only took one shot though. He
Yeah.
literally
Right.
only took one shot, made it, got us 4 rebounds, got us an assist, got us a block. Did not turn the ball over once, and only had 2 fouls. So, and then Gallinari did not turn the ball over once, had 2 fouls. That's it. These guys in their career has only averaged one or so turnover a game, and that's pushing it. They rarely ever turn the ball over twice, and they barely ever foul. And that's why I love this pickup for the Pistons. And I think this is going to be a big step moving forward for us. And honestly, I'm not upset that Wiseman didn't get the minutes tonight. I think it's still promising to see where he could go. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, but he's going to be at least a good quality role player. But for me, as of right now, I am definitely putting in Muscala, and I'm definitely putting in Gallinari before James Wiseman.
Yeah, I mean, they're just playing so efficient where you just can't really deny them right now. And they don't take bad shots. They make smart decisions. And in Mike Muscala's 16 minutes, he got 4 quality rebounds. It's like you just can't hate on these guys. They're playing really well and they're taking quality minutes and they shoot efficiently. And really, all you can ask from vets is to do the little things and shoot efficiently. And that's what they're doing right now. And James Wiseman can't really give us that every night. It just kind of depends with James on who he's going up against, if he's going to shoot efficiently or not. So I really agree. I think that these vets were a great move for us. I'm still hurt that Bagley's gone, but it is what it is. I think overall right now it's working out for us because we have some vet presence that they're professionals behind the scenes. That they do everything the coaches ask of them. And I think that's just brilliant of an example for Stewart, Killian, Jade, and Cade, and Asar, seeing these 2 guys come in and do everything that the coaches ask of them. They're only there to assist them and help them. I think it's just absolutely brilliant for the Detroit Pistons. One last thing I want to mention before we wrap up tonight's recap of the Pistons versus the Bucks is we have to talk about Jaden Ivey. I mean, Jaden Ivey is playing really rock solid right now, giving us 17 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, which if there's anything that he's really grown on in this last year since he was a rookie is assists. He's really learning how to facilitate this Pistons offense and work well with Jalen Duren. The only thing is that kind of hurts is the 5 of 14 from the field. You wish to see him be a little bit more efficient. I'm not saying shoot over 50%, but give us a little bit something more. You know what I mean? So before we wrap up tonight's recap, any last thoughts on Jaden Ivey?
Yeah, his shooting was not pretty, as you mentioned. But outside of that, he still gave us 17 quality points, still gave us the 6 assists rather. And got 3 boards for us. His shooting at the line, great. 6 of 7. I'll take that out of Jaden Ivey. But his just there were situations where he was pulling up from 3 without even starting the offense and just shoots the 3 immediately. And I'm sitting there going like, Jaden, don't take that shot. At least have some ball movement before taking that shot and create opportunities for others to get at least somewhat of a rhythm. By taking that 3 where you did, it stops the rhythm if you miss. And then all of a sudden, there goes the Bucks on a fast break and they score, because that happened so many times tonight. But otherwise, I will gladly take his 17 points. I'll gladly take his 6 of 7 shooting at the line, and I'll gladly take his 6 assists. I'm happy with his play overall. Just those little intricacies in terms of taking that shot when it doesn't even need to be taken. Have some ball movement at least a little bit from time to time. At least run a couple plays before you take a contested 3 in the face of like a Brook Lopez. Just fix those little issues, and otherwise, this was a great game for him.
That will do it for tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Before you guys leave this week's episode, we break down the latest trade of Marvin Bagley and Isaiah Livers for Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari. We talk about the loss of Bagley and Livers and the additions of Muscala and Gallinari and all the little intricacies that went down with that trade. So if you want to tune in and listen to our thoughts on that trade, make sure to click on our YouTube channel, scroll down 2 videos, and then there it is. So make sure to check out our recent episode. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And if you liked today's recap, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. We will see you guys in the next Revved Up recap. Peace.